We have Jeffrey Cardwell, the Chief Operating Officer of Norristown Public School District. And we're going to discuss school security and safety issues. If you have any questions, we have a mic in the back corner. It's a pretty loose conversation, so we definitely want to make sure that you're getting your questions answered as well. So thank you for joining me today, Jeffrey.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Jeffrey was on our K-12 schools panel yesterday, if you were able to attend that session, and shared some great information. Do you just want to start about giving an overview of your school district?
Yes. So Norristown Area School District is divided between 3 municipalities in the Pennsylvania area. We're a total of 13 buildings, small district, roughly about 9,000 students between the 3 municipalities, in a sense, in our 12 buildings. 1 high school, 4 middle schools, and 8 elementary schools. One borough, or one, I should call it the borough. Norristown Borough is urban. The other 2 are suburban areas. So we have a mixture. We transport we do 360 routes of transportation every day. So that's a little security issue there too with busing and so forth. It's a mixture of background of students. We have a large Latinx population, English-speaking first students in our district. So,
you talked yesterday with your capital planning that you're putting together. You're starting with life safety projects and that. So, can you tell a little bit about some of the projects you're looking to implement and kind of why you're focusing on that safety first mentality?
Absolutely. Our buildings are roughly about 62 years old in age. Our newest building is 33 years old. So due to the changing climate of school safety, we need to adapt to the best ways of securing our staff and students from incidents that could happen, in a sense. So that's putting in secured vestibules, door access controls, more cameras, in a sense. When I should say in a sense, we have a camera system, but outdated, analog. We want to move it to digital, add additional cameras, and utilize them in a different way, where currently the camera system that we have in place, it was more or less watch the behavior of the children, so the cameras aren't in the right places. So we need to change that mindset and have cameras that really look at the perimeter of the campus overall at each level, or each one of our buildings there. The other thing is fortifying our glass entranceways and so forth. We have a lot of glass, putting bullet resistant film on it, but also looking at safety where we don't want our schools to look like an institution of a correctional institution. We still want to give it that flavor of it's an inviting environment for students and staff and the community to be there. The other part of safety as well is upgrading our fire alarm systems as well as burglar alarms. So looking at safety of the individuals and the asset itself.
We were talking earlier about infection control being part of kind of the safety of the building. Any changes that you've implemented, since COVID, or, how do you treat that as part of the safety program?
So in our EOPs, there is a section that talks about infectious disease possibilities. If it's a chemical or a human bodily fluids that's under 1 liter, my staff is trained to manage that. If it's something that's unknown, even if it is under that 1 liter, we call the necessary agencies, the fire department, to respond to those situations. Anything that is known coming from the government, we follow the guidelines from the Pennsylvania Department of Education on how to set perimeters up with staffing, students, and what guidelines we need to follow to ensure that students and staff are safe in our building. So we go to a certain parameters with staff, with training, and then call on the local emergency management and first responders, and then take guidance from our state Department of Education of anything that is on a larger magnitude. So even we'll get messaging from the state, hey, it's a high influenza season. You need to take these necessary steps in your cleaning protocol. So that's some of the guidance as well we would get from the state and follow those procedures. And as I said, our staff, custodian staff, are trained on how to respond to sanitizing and disinfecting school space.
Do you publicize those efforts so that the parents and the community know the measures that facilities is taking to keep their children safe?
Good question, Dan. We do. So we use something called Thrill Share, where we'll send a notification home to all of the parents that are registered on that. We'll put it on our website, and then the school itself, each principal will send home some type of notification or document to the parents of the students.
You were talking earlier about transportation, and we've talked before about some of the transportation issues schools are going through. Where does the safety kind of fit into that, and what are the measures you take?
So all of our buses are GPS tracked, and we have cameras on all of our buses. Also audio. Front and rear cameras. If a complaint comes about or an issue, we're able to go back, look at the incident that had taken place to help us do an investigation to determine what had taken place. But also the audio is a key to that too, because you can hear what's going on, what's taking place. The GPS tracking is, a true added safety feature. One, safety that our drivers are following the rules of the road, but as well as if something was to happen at a bus in a location, that driver doesn't have to think I'm at Charlotte and North Hanover. We can go on and see exactly where the bus is and send emergency help or police help to that location.
Is your busing program in-house, or is it an outsourced program?
So we have a hybrid due to the number of routes that we do, and most of our district is non-walkable, so everyone pretty much catches a bus, and we don't have the adequate, something we were talking about yesterday, land space really to say we're going to buy 40 buses and do our internal transportation. So our in-house staff provides busing service to the charter school. Our contracted services provides transportation to our district overall, and the non-pubs, and also homeless that we have to pick up. So it's a variety of services. So we bus, 72-passenger bus, 10-passenger vans, and taxi cab service is one for one-on-one pickups. And then any specialty, for field trips, we would use an outside vendor as well, a luxury liner to do that.
And all those vehicles have the audio recording and the video on them, or just the buses?
So the vans and the buses do. Those one-offs, they're almost like a Lyft type or Uber. They don't have that equipment. And we do stipulate in our contract with the large vendor that the buses have to be equipped with the camera system.
And that's what I was going to ask. Was there any pushback from drivers that this is too much surveillance on me, I'm not comfortable with this?
So in my tenure, I haven't heard any pushback, because once even the private vendor, at the time of hiring, you're told that your vehicle is monitored through GPS, it's cameras, it's audio. We just had a situation I won't go into too far. This is about a month ago. We're in litigation where the driver denied what took place and just pulled the cameras and audio, and it just laid out everything. It didn't benefit us. It benefited the parents who are, suing the district in a sense like that. So it's a pros and cons for it. The system, it helps the school district, but as well, it helps the parents too, to ensure that we're providing a safe, haven for their children to commute back and forth to school.
Most people think school safety, they go right to active shooter. How often do you do training for that scenario?
So under the law, in the state of Pennsylvania, Act 55 training requires a minimum once a year. You have to do an active shooter training. We do it twice a year, at the beginning of the school year and then midway through. but we also practice other trainings as well. We're required to do a fire drill every month. We even go into doing a shelter in place due to inclement weather. And then, as well as we will take on something I was mentioning with if it is a hazardous substance or a bomb threat or so forth, how to respond to that. Some of that may be activities that's happening in the community, and you're going to do a shelter in place. So it's not a lockdown. You're actually still able to maneuver around the school, but you just can't go out into the schoolyard or leave the premise, and we don't allow anyone in the building at that time either. So every month, our schools are going through some type of training that's related to safety on different magnitudes.
Yeah, it kind of goes into what I was going to ask. Not to downplay the severity of an active shooter situation, but are there other emergencies or other safety precautions that are get overlooked because we think of the extreme case that we should be putting more emphasis on safety on?
Well, I would say yes, right? So this year here, we just implemented something to take the I would say the complacency out of fire drills, because you do a fire drill, it's repetitive. You exit the same way each drill. So we just implemented that every classroom, every office should have a secondary way out. So when we do a fire drill, we kind of wait 3 months, let everyone get used to doing drills. The next drill, the fourth one, we would choose to, you can't go out your primary exit. Do you know your secondary exit? And we'll actually working with the fire department, someone stands there and say, you can't come this way. And then we look at how the teachers manage their children, especially elementary school, how to figure out where their secondary egress from the space is. And like I said, because we come complacent, there's the closest exit, that's where I would go at. But in some situations, that exit may not be available for you.
Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask or receive more information on? Sure. Yep. Yes. Please use the microphone. Thank you.
So I know you talked about school buses and transportation and routes, and a lot of the district you cover, it's not walkable. I was curious if you had any opinions regarding, in Baltimore City, there's no school buses for like elementary, middle, high school kids. So they're, like 6, 7, 8-year-olds walking the streets of Baltimore to get to class. I don't know if you had any opinions or thoughts about that.
So we actually have that in Norristown Borough. It's a walkable. So Norristown Borough is more of an urban setting compared to West Norriton and East Norriton. So we have the same thing in our borough where children from K through 8 will walk to school. Our high school is pretty much all transportation because where it sits at. We work closely with the police in that area. Definitely having crossing guards at necessary locations to assist children crossing over dangerous roads, but as well as trying to give active corridors where the police will do a routine patrol through. And then we also work with our parents, asking them to be vigilant of students walking to school. It's that saying almost that it takes a village to raise, children. It's the same way for safety. It's just not one. The police can't be everywhere. The security force can't be everywhere. And I'm just going to transition that into our schools, right? So we have one SRO in our high school. It's 3 stories, 2,000, close to 3,000 kids there. We actually asked our teachers to come out in the hallways during transitional period because the school resource officer and, believe it or not, the 10 security guards can't be everywhere in that building. So it's the same thing in a neighborhood, working with the local municipality to give them routes that kids walk, ask for a police presence, but as well as asking the community, and what I mean by the community, the parent of the children, if you can walk your kid to school or walk as a group to school and so forth. And we've been fortunate not really to have any serious incident. And I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to get a phone call today something happened. And I'll just say this, I was a walker. I walked 10 blocks to school in Philadelphia. And that was from kindergarten till 8th grade.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else?
Dan, it's just one thing I want to mention
Yeah.
to everyone too. So if you don't have any initiatives, so we have every school, it's a thick binder, it's roughly about 300 pages. It's an emergency operation plan. So you should make sure all of your buildings have emergency operation plans, and they're reviewed every year, signed off on, making change of staff that may have moved on, and they may have been your person who reaches out to parents or calling the police. So that's something that's a necessity too, in that. And then also look at other technology that's possible. So we have a radio system in all of our schools for the staff to be able to get in touch with administration or to notify another building that something's taking place. We have an alerted system, which is a panic button you hit, it calls the police and notifies everyone in the building that when that button is pressed, that means you have an intruder. That's the one where you definitely need to either leave the school or lock yourself into the secure place. So the key is definitely to have a plan in place, but don't let it sit on a shelf. You review that plan at least once every year. If you can get it in twice, that's a must for sure.
Do you do any drills with those plans? I mean, you mentioned the fire drills, but other safety drills.
So all the things I talked about is in that plan, right? So it's a fire drill, shelter in place for weather, bomb threat, and we actually go through those throughout the 10-month process. So fire drills are mandated, but we'll add one of the other drills in that month there as well. So yes, and that's the good thing with having a plan. And then it allows your administration too. So at our cabinet meeting over the summer, I'll take the superintendent, assistant superintendent, the chief academic officer. They need to know that plan as well. And the last thing I want to say, and we're working on this now, is having a reunification site where if something dramatic was to happen in your district, that you have a location that's not at one of your schools, it's totally off-site, and you organize at that site on how you're going to receive parents and be prepared for victim treatment and so forth. What I mean by that, mental response. If someone was harmed or so forth, the parents coming to you, and how do you handle that? How do you manage that? And there's a great program, I Love You Guys. They do a great job on how to do a reunification for your school.
Terry?
Yeah, I think that's what we call a mass evacuation plan.
Yep.
Yep, and we're just trying to put ours together because we're not really a school district, but we're linked to 6 different school divisions, so we go to like fire departments or somewhere that's got a big place where we can go, and we're still trying to link it all together. But
it's a hard thing. So one of my previous positions was similar to what you're saying. In the state of Pennsylvania, you have intermediate units. So they're a state educational institution that supports all the schools in a county. So when I worked at Montgomery County IU, I supported 26 school districts with safety and security. The key thing is each one of those entities that you're working with, whoever their safety person is, bring them all together in a meeting, and then you should start coordinating with them on how you're going to respond, and how they can respond to you as well, and then have them coordinated. We had an incident in Norristown area school district a couple years back, working with 3 police departments, which is smaller than what you're saying, and 3 fire departments. We had a bomb threat. No one knew which municipality should show up because of where the school was located. It could be West Norriton or East Norriton, and Norristown Borough would support them. Well, when they came, we were not organized. So the first responders were looking to us for some direction, and we couldn't give that direction. So,
yeah, we got one of the school divisions to give us busing, so that we've been tossed back and forth about where we're going.
right. So that's where.
That's the problem, is there's nowhere concrete.
So you definitely reach out to, look in the community. So one of the places I have identified and working with, it's actually an expo center that's not too far from our communities in a sense. It is a community over, and that was done purposely to allow for my team to get to that site, to set up, allow communication to get out to parents, allow for us to be ready to receive parents that are coming to pick up their children, and allow for us to bus children from our schools to that location. So it's going to make parents frustrated. Like, oh, I have to drive 3 miles now to pick up my child. But it's all a safety protocol too.
Right.
I want to get children, staff, and students out of the area where it's possibility of additional threat.
Right.
Take them over to the next community and let first responders do what they have to do in our communities, in a sense.
Right.
So I would definitely tell you, look at.
There's a
People-
convention center right down.
So,
Probably 2 miles away. It would probably get.
I would tell you this: our expo center was more than willing. They were happy. You know, we're working on things now because if they're having an expo like this in this size, they have other smaller spaces that can accommodate
Right.
us, and we would just have to prepare. Well, I have to make sure that our students and staff are secure from the expo that's taking place there. So, but a church, large church. Look at your municipal government. Some of them have large training centers, and as well as the private entity of a convention center.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.